Good evening, Angelia. It would have been nice if you'd sent a text, but I suppose I'll have to take the initiative since you won't. But let's not discuss manners and etiquette right now. I need to get straight to the point. You still aren't pregnant, are you? I haven't received any updates about your situation. I don't know what I expected from a daughter-in-law who never reaches out. You and James were married for almost 2.5 years. Did you know that it's often said that marriages without children in the first 3 years may have difficulties? Some choose divorce. You're getting close to that point, you realize? I don't mean to criticize, but if I were in your situation, I'd consider preparing for divorce. If you don't have much hope for children within the next 6 months.
It's nice to hear from you, Lucy. I barely remember the last time we spoke.
That's quite a way to address your mother-in-law. You've always had a lack of manners, but now you've outdone yourself.
But you're not my mother-in-law.
Why? I never. What's gotten into you?
I'm sorry, have I done something to upset you? I don't understand where all this hostility is coming from.
For starters, you could show a little bit more respect. Maybe you don't want to hear the truth, and you've been in denial all this time. But you can't blame anyone for the troubles you've been experiencing. You would do well to remember your place and show respect. You've got to be the most disrespectful woman I've ever met.
I'm really sorry, but I am still totally lost. What are you so upset about? We haven't spoken in who knows how long. I don't think I've said anything rude to you in the short conversation we've been having. If you could go ahead and clarify, I'd be very grateful. Then maybe I can try to piece together where you are going with this conversation.
And to think I was going to give you an opportunity to apologize for what you said earlier. Your ill-mannered ignorance is excusable. But it seems more and more like you are just trying to irritate me.
I'm not doing anything to deliberately annoy you. But apparently you've woken up on the wrong side of the bed today.
How am I not your mother-in-law when you're married to my son? I'm sure even you understand how that all works. Stop acting so foolish.
I am well aware of how marriage works, Lucy. You don't need to explain it to me. But James and I have been divorced for some time now. That would also mean that you are, in fact, not my mother-in-law. At least not anymore. Maybe that will answer the questions you have for me right now.
Divorce? What are you talking about?
Wait, you don't know that we're divorced? Have you really not heard anything from James? When did you talk to him last?
Again, what are you talking about? What divorce? You shouldn't joke about those kinds of things, Angelia. You will manifest very negative outcomes in your life if you act so carelessly.
But it isn't a joke. I'm telling you the truth. We aren't married anymore.
The fact that the two of you have already wasted so much time not having children is already enough cause for concern. I'd appreciate if you could be a little bit more serious about this and cope with your stress in some other fashion.
Are you just deliberately ignoring everything I'm trying to tell you?
I told you I've had more than enough of your jokes. They aren't amusing in the slightest. You've got less than half a year, Angelia. That's barely 6 months. If you aren't planning on having children, I'd highly suggest you seriously consider getting a real divorce, rather than pulling my leg about it when I'm trying to help you.
But we already did. It's not a joke. Maybe you should ask him yourself if you don't believe me.
I don't need to hear excuses from you. You know what you need to do. Or should I explain the situation to you again so that it'll set in? I get the feeling that you aren't taking any of this seriously. People that don't have children within 3 years of being married do not have relationships. You are cutting it very close to your deadline. You have 6 months, Angelia. 6 months. Does any of that not make sense to you? You are treading on thin ice if you want to make this marriage with James work. I'm only trying to get you to understand all of this. Because I am thinking about what is at stake here with your future.
And I am trying to explain to you that we are already divorced. What is so hard for you to get? Your concern is appreciated but misplaced. Please listen to what I'm telling you.
I would like to have grandchildren before I move on from this life to the next. James would like to have children as well, of course. It's a bit selfish of you to keep both of us waiting.
Stop ignoring me and listen. You've turned this short conversation into a theatrical performance. We are not married anymore.
The excuses need to stop. You keep trying to change the subject and aren't listening to anything I'm trying to tell you.
Have you lost your mind?
Enough, Angelia. You have 6 months, and you are rapidly losing time trying to argue with me over my concerns. You shouldn't take this personally, rather as encouragement. I want what's best for you, so don't let me down. Angelia, I haven't heard from you in a while. An occasional update would be appreciated. I hope you're taking to heart what I told you. You've only got about 3 months left. Have you thought about our previous discussion? Any progress? You really are something else. Are you going to ignore me then? I express concern about your family's future, and this is the thanks I get?
I'm not ignoring you, but if you're expecting significant news updates, you might be disappointed. Can we be honest for a moment? What's your plan here? I don't understand your intentions.
What are you getting at? Shouldn't I be asking you the same question? You act as if you don't know what I'm talking about. How about promising to keep in regular contact now that we don't live together anymore? Did you forget about that too? How can you treat family this way? You moved out without even letting me know. Just 6 months after getting married. It's like you don't value communication.
Maybe this is something you should have considered initially. When a couple gets a divorce, they usually don't live together, let alone with their parents. Staying in regular contact with a divorced spouse and their family isn't common. I thought this was common sense.
Are you still rambling on about that nonsense? You know I still don't believe a word of it.
I'm not surprised in the slightest. You never listened to anything I told you. You don't care about how things are normally done, apparently. I'm just telling you the truth, and you don't seem to want to accept any of it.
Is that what you think? You think everyone acts like you, is that it? Do you think everyone treats promises like you do? Like they mean nothing? I hate to break it to you, but most people keep the promises that they make.
Okay, but you are still forgetting a really important detail. That kind of changes all of the context in this situation. James and I got divorced a while ago. We aren't together anymore. I keep trying to tell you, and you refuse to listen to me.
And I've been telling you to stop with the jokes. It wasn't funny before, and it isn't funny now. I am trying to help you, Angelia. Your marriage is on the brink of falling apart. And I am trying to get you to realize that. Why is that so hard for you to understand? You're being incredibly selfish when someone is trying to help you. Your life as you know it could change drastically. And all you can do is make jokes and act selfish.
Enough already. I don't need you to help me with anything.
I don't think you realize what you are saying. You need more help than you know. I've told you that marriages don't last when you don't put in the effort. If you don't have children, your marriage is doomed to fail. Do you understand that time is quickly running out? You've only got 3 months left until you've been married for 3 years. That's not much time at all. If you'd like to have a strong and healthy marriage, I'd highly suggest that you start making some important decisions in the near future.
I think I'm going to lose my mind. I don't understand why you are being deliberately ignorant. I don't know how to get it through your thick skull that you are living in a fantasy world when things are clearly not the way you perceive them.
I think that makes 2 of us then.
How many times have I told you now that we aren't together? I've moved on with my life, and it's about time that you do as well. You are stuck in the past. It's time you've moved on too. If you want grandchildren so badly, maybe you should encourage your son to start looking for a new wife. Or maybe you can find one for him. Either way, you need to move on. Whatever you do, I'd prefer if you'd leave me be. I'm getting a little tired of you pestering me.
You are throwing your entire life away.
I need to go, sorry to cut this short.
Hello, Angelia. I hope you're having a good evening. I should congratulate you on your 3-year anniversary. I still haven't heard anything about whether or not you're pregnant. So I'm going to assume the worst. It really is a shame that there wasn't anything you could do to save your marriage. You've also managed to go several more months without reaching out to me. Why is it so difficult for you to talk to your mother-in-law now and then?
I thought we were finished with this. I don't want to go through all of this with you again. You're going to ignore everything I have to tell you, as always. Why do you keep this up?
I see you are still acting as rude as ever. I'd hoped by now you would have changed at least a little.
Your definition of rude and my definition are clearly drastically different from one another. I still don't see how telling you the honest truth is rude. If anything, I think it's kind of me to be so patient with you.
I've tried to be patient with you myself. But it seems I can only do so much to try to help you. I can tell you are content with throwing away what little potential you had. You're totally helpless. I don't know why I've even bothered when clearly this is all some joke to you. You don't care about anything. If you aren't planning on having children, or are just incapable, you and James need to get a divorce immediately.
Of all the people to call someone else helpless, you are one to talk. Clearly you have no idea what is going on with your family. So I'll have to fill you in. I've told you before, and I'll say it again. James and I are not married. I married another man a while ago. I have already started my own family.
Is this another joke? You can't be serious. You're married to someone else?
Yes, it was 2.5 years ago.
And you have children already.
Yes, a 6-month-old. And I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together. It's not your grandchild.
You can't be serious. You don't really expect me to believe this, do you?
It's the truth. I've been trying to explain. The first time you messaged me months ago out of nowhere was already incredibly strange. I had to do some investigating. Tuck also remarried. Were you not aware? He married another woman about 2.5 years ago as well.
This has to be a joke. What are you even saying? This doesn't make a bit of sense. How could you already have a family with someone else? We just met at a family gathering only several months ago. What do you have to say about that? I'd like to hear your explanation.
You do know that I have a twin sister, right?
Twin sister. You know, now that you mention it. I do remember she came to the wedding.
After James and I divorced, I haven't been back to Greensboro even once.
You haven't come back to visit at all?
Yes, I've gone out of my way to stay far away from there. I decided it would be best for my mental health. I moved rather far away, too. Anyway, back to what I was originally saying. I actually didn't know about this until recently, too. It turns out that the day after James and I were divorced, he proposed to my sister and they got married.
James married your sister?
There was a lot going on back when James and I got divorced and I moved away. Just 6 months in, our marriage had already been struggling. Our personalities were never a perfect match for one another. But more and more problems came up as time went on. Even in our daily lives we were arguing over small things. We came to an agreement that the both of us would be better off if we weren't together. It was too difficult for us to work through our problems. We had been proceeding with the divorce rather amicably, but it didn't last long. I eventually found out that part of, if not the entire reason, why things hadn't been going well between James and I was because he had been cheating on me with my sister. It came as a huge surprise to me. I never would have expected him to stab me in the back like that. When I found out, I almost couldn't believe it. It was too absurd to be real. It's the truth though, for better or for worse.
I can't believe this. So you really haven't been with James all this time?
That's what I've been trying to tell you. James and I are not together, and have not been for a while. He's been married to Emily all this time.
I don't understand. None of this makes sense. This is the first I've heard any of this. Why haven't I heard anything about this from anyone?
Yes, that much is apparent. Though I did try to tell you from the beginning that I wasn't married to James anymore. That part fell on deaf ears.
But why wouldn't James tell me about it?
I can't imagine why he wouldn't want to tell his mother about having done something as awful as cheating on his wife. Your guess is as good as mine.
I'm still his mother, though.
Didn't James's sister end up getting a divorce because she had been cheating on her husband? It's kind of similar to James's situation. You were pretty upset about the whole situation, if I recall correctly. You do remember, don't you? It was pretty incredible how you nearly destroyed everything around the house in your fit of rage. You were really frustrated with her. Maybe James remembered how upset you got and didn't want to share with you that he had done something similar that might cause another situation like that to occur. It seems like James really capitalized on the fact that Emily and I are identical twins, and had her pretend as though nothing had changed in terms of who he was married to. The reunion you mentioned earlier, which I did not attend, was Emily going in place of me. I imagine she played the part she was told to by James. I would say that she did a good job, too. This is just from what I know now. That I've looked into the situation a bit more since you first reached out to me.
This is absolutely insane.
If I had to guess, my parents are probably completely on board with my sister's degeneracy. They think she can do nothing wrong.
They approve of this?
Yes, unfortunately. They're almost as unreasonable as my sister. But now that you know the truth, you need to make some decisions going forward. The truth will come out eventually. Whether you decide to take a proactive role in that or not.
Yes, you're right. I hadn't thought about what could come next. I never anticipated something like this could happen. I understand that you are no longer a part of our family. I should have listened to what you were trying to tell me before. There's no point in us talking any longer, though. I don't think I have any more to say to you. If you'll excuse me then, I need to figure some things out.
Oh, are you busy? Do you really think that this all ends as simple as that?
What do you mean? What more is there?
Oh, nothing really, I suppose. But before you go, I should be thanking you for everything you've done for me.
Thanking me? I haven't done anything for you.
It's all thanks to you thinking I was still married to James and your constant messages that you've flooded me with in the past few months. I never would have figured out about the horrible things that my sister did behind my back with James if not for that.
Oh. Well, I suppose when you put it that way.
If I didn't know, I wouldn't have been able to sue James.
You're suing him?
Of course. He lied to me and betrayed me. I'm very grateful that you allowed me such a fortuitous opportunity to learn the truth. I really appreciate it.
What can you even sue him for, though? It's not like you can increase your alimony or anything.
Unfortunately, my alimony ended as soon as I remarried. That's why I'm just going to sue him for emotional damages. Unfortunately, at the moment, it seems that James is unemployed. It's very unfortunate circumstances to be in at the moment.
He's unemployed? How in the world did he lose his job?
I'm not exactly sure about all the details of the incident. But it looks like he made one too many mistakes at work that caused him to lose his job. I can't pretend like I care any more than I do though. I bet he'll be asking you to help him pay for the lawsuit. So I hope you'll be able to help your son out in these trying times.
Wait, hang on. Me? How can you expect me to help him?
What exactly is the problem? Don't you want to help your son out?
How could you do this? We've already struggled with covering all of the costs that came with my daughter's divorce. We had to use so much of our savings. It took us nearly everything to cover all of that, and she hasn't even repaid us. We haven't heard anything from her in a while. I don't know if we'll ever see the rest of the money that she owes us.
I see. That's a really difficult situation to be in. I don't care where the money comes from, to be honest. As long as I am paid the full amount, the details don't matter to me.
Don't you understand how difficult this is going to be for us?
Maybe. But I'm sure you'll all be able to figure something out. Thank you in advance.
How could you be so cruel? I'm telling you that we don't have any money. How do you expect us to be able to afford this? I was your mother-in-law. We were family. Can't you be a little understanding of our situation? How can you do this knowing that it's going to hurt us? I thought of you as my daughter.
Is that really how you felt? When you thought I was still married to your son? You demanded I get a divorce because you thought we weren't having children. I don't think you even really know how you feel. Your whole world has been completely turned around over the course of the past few months. And you only now realize it. I almost feel sorry for you.
I can't believe you're going to do this to me.
Like you said earlier, I don't have anything else that I need to say. So, that's all from me.
You don't have to do this. We aren't going to be able to manage any more debt.
This is long overdue, but I will be blocking your number now.
Angelia, don't you dare block my number.
After my last conversation with my former mother-in-law, I heard about what happened next from a friend of mine living close to their home. Lucy called James and Emily, demanding to speak with them as soon as possible for an important discussion. Though they called it a discussion, it was more like a chaotic scene with furniture being thrown around. And there was a lot of yelling instead of a civil conversation. The commotion was so loud that everyone in the neighborhood could hear it. And eventually, the police were called to intervene. While the police managed to de-escalate the situation, it didn't provide a permanent solution to their new problems. Lucy refused to cover the costs of the lawsuit, and eventually, she and James stopped communicating with each other. She couldn't bear the thought of her reputation being tied to both of her children ruining marriages through infidelity, and decided to move out of town. No one is certain about her new whereabouts. As for my cheating ex-husband and sister, they've been facing financial difficulties trying to pay the damages from my lawsuit. The sudden increase in tension between James and me had always bothered me. As if there was a missing piece of the story. I'm relieved to finally know what happened and can find some closure.